Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. I'm very excited to be joined today by my friend and colleague, Louie Tolentino. Louie has 30 years of leadership experience across consulting, sales, business development, and operations. And in his role as a fractional CRO, he advises CEOs and company leadership, and he has delivered triple-digit revenue growth rates and double-digit profit gains. We are excited to talk about how to improve B2B close rates today. How are you doing today, Louie?
I'm doing excellent, Andy. Thank you for asking. How are you?
Doing really well, thanks. Yeah. One thing I want to add to that is I actually first engaged with Louie as an advisor to our company, right? And now he is a part of the team, fractionally helping others with sales growth. And we've got the book. He was instrumental in helping to get the book out there and the boot camp underway. All of that was from his advice. And so all of that's underway now. So I want to say thank you, Louie, for that.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's fun.
It is fun work. So we're going to go through, six key things today, really. Six key
Mm.
items. From your vantage point as a fractional CRO, where do most B2B deals actually break down today? And why do sales teams often misdiagnose the real reason they lose?
Yeah. Um, I believe most deals break down in really the late stages, like from proposal to decision, due to unresolved internal buyer frictions. It's not pricing, not competition, or product fit, as at least from my experience, some of the sellers usually blame. Today, I believe buyers face fragmented communities, like often there's anywhere between three all the way up to 10 stakeholders, right? There's misaligned priorities, hidden resistors, like finance fearing budget scrutiny, or IT. We just discussed this earlier. They're worried about integration risk. And more importantly, I think, and I believe this, it's a fear of a bad call haunting their career. So there's a no decision outcome, which skyrockets because of status quo feels a little bit safer than the change. So so sales teams typically misdiagnose because they fixate on external factors. They went with a cheaper competitor, while ignoring the real killer, which is the lack of buyer consensus and confidence. So there is an opportunity to do the win-loss analyses, which often stay surface level, like price and features, instead of exploring what internal conversations stalled this. So there are some top performing teams, elite teams that run what I would say structured close loss reviews that really reveal systematic like gaps, I don't know, poor stakeholder mapping or unaddressed risk. I mean, what questions do you ask in your loss deal reviews that uncover real breakdowns?
Yeah, we do it. We after a deal, whether we win or lose, we talk through it, what happened. And then, frankly, the whole reason behind the book launch and the boot camp, right,
Yeah.
was a gap that we wanted to fill, right? We wanted to give an educational track to people that were not quite ready to go all the way, but they wanted the structure and to go ahead and get it underway, right? And we saw that. We heard it. I heard it repeatedly, and I was like, "We should have a boot camp. We should have a book."
Right.
And that's why we did it. Was what happened with this deal, right? We didn't get the elite partner deal here. What happened? They said this, not yet, not ready for that yet. And we did it, right? We diagnosed it. You and I actually diagnosed
Hmm.
it, and we put something together to help close that resistor and that risk on their end. And they can expand and go further from there. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
it,
Good.
yep, absolutely. So, yeah, we do that internally. And like you said, elite teams, they do that. Not only just talk about the wins, but what happened on the losses? What fell
Mhm.
apart there? And
Right.
you learn more, frankly, from those than the ones that just go swimmingly right through and close right away.
And you're right.
learn
It's not
more.
just talking about the wins. It's really looking at the deltas of what has taken place. And most organizations are starting to miss that because they're too hyper focused on the wins or really the excuse of the losses instead of really looking at honestly what the
Right.
deltas were.
Yep, absolutely. So, second key item, we've talked about how modern buyers aren't deciding between vendors as much as they're deciding between confidence and risk.
Mhm.
So, how should sales teams change the way they sell if that's really the real decision being made?
Coming from organizations where they had multiple systems, whether it's DPS selling or Challenger, um, it's great to sell solutions and be a consultative seller, but I believe shifting from selling the solution to orchestrating how buyer confidence can take place, we have to frame every interactions around reducing perceived risk while amplifying the proof and the value and safety of this. I believe key changes is lead with business outcomes and risk mitigation. For example, here's how a similar client avoided X failure and gained X ROI. Not features, because features and functionality, it's going to be a Me Too product or Me Too service. The
Right.
value comes in when you talk about risk mitigation overcome by the value and evidence that you're bringing into the table. And map and engage full committee early. Multi-thread conversations to build internal advocates is what's going to help the close rate increase.
Yeah,
And, and,
absolutely.
and and some of the things that we talked about also provide verifiable evidence. There's case studies, there's peer references, there's trials and SLAs and third-party validations. Those, I believe, are what key changes need to happen from selling the solution.
Right. Absolutely. And in the book, we include stories of
Hmm.
wins and losses, right? And one of the things that stands out to me is a multi-million dollar deal where the CEO said, I'm just, my team is just not ready yet. My team is just not ready. And I was talking about, well, how do we move forward and get this to where you can realize the benefits of this?
Yeah.
And we put together a game plan to where I was able to come into that meeting, and it was literally the whole meeting was risk mitigation
Hmm.
based on
Yep.
bad past experiences from them. And the whole meeting was risk mitigation. And at the end, he goes, see, I told you guys you'd want to see this. And we closed, right? So, but yeah, it does. If you don't bring it in, they're going to talk about it anyway in the background.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
going on there, obviously. And they're going to talk about it anyway. So bring it in and
Yep.
use it to your advantage, and how you
Yeah.
mitigate those risks and resistors for them. So,
It certainly flips the dynamic, right? The seller becomes a trusted advisor guiding the buyer to a low risk yes, which shortens the cycle by preventing the stalls.
right, absolutely. Yeah. So, next point, when you look at deals that close smoothly versus ones that stall late,
Mhm.
what signals tell you whether the buyer truly believes the value or is still carrying that hidden uncertainty?
It makes me want to share when I was single and started to talk about my green flags when I'm out there dating, but I'm not going to go there. So these are fun because the dynamic and human nature, the things that we face when we're working with people, you start to see these green and red flags, right? So
Yeah.
I kind of liken it to our profession. I think smooth closes shows these green flags. When the buyer actively sells internally, it shares your materials. Um, they schedule peer calls. They volunteer risk objections and they seek your help resolving them.
Right.
And some of the things that you talk about with them, it's a clear mutual action plan with the right owners, named owners, and specific dates. Um, and then we have the particular buyers, like economic buyers, they engage directly and ask implementation questions. Um, they're really engaged with the process. And then we have the no decision. language that really disappears. They discuss with you when, not if. So those are the green flags that um, I look for. The things that really stall and create uncertainty, there's like language like we'll circle back internally without pausing.
Yes. Circle back internally. That's a great example.
And one of the things is the champion that you have attempted to create, they ghost you, they go quiet, or they get
Yeah.
defensive. And some of the things that I remember is they'll sometimes request for more proof or references late in the cycle after you've provided everything already.
Right.
And really the focus shifts to um, the minutia, like pricing tweaks instead of outcomes.
Yep. Absolutely. Well said. No doubt about it. And number four, uh, many sellers, they try to persuade harder when
Mhm.
deals slow down. And, I'm curious about this. So, in your experience, how does reducing uncertainty outperform persuasion and improving the close rates?
Yeah, here's why it wins. It addresses root fears like failure, career risk, implementation horror stories. I've had implementation horror stories, especially with ERP system. Oh my gosh. Implementing ERP, it is a big challenge because there's change involved and people don't like change. Um,
Right. Yep.
Techniques like risk mitigation closes. Let's map uh, how to eliminate X risk or providing peer stories outperform just trust me pushes, right? Um, I don't like those. I've gone out with sales reps where they literally use that language. Just trust me. I'm like, who uses that?
Yeah.
As
I've
soon as
heard
I hear
that
it, I'm
another
like,
one that strikes me is
yeah,
you don't need to worry about that. If you
like,
say you don't need to worry about that, you're ignoring what they're saying and you're showing yourself to be number one, you care about the sale.
yeah,
And then secondarily, whatever they said,
right,
is what it
right.
is, basically. Yeah.
And there's data that shows teams focusing on evidence and transparency, and they see a 30 to 60% win rate, and the lifts on that versus a high pressure tactic.
Right.
Um, and of course, it shortens cycles by turning passive stalls into active collaboration. So really, here's the framework. When stalled, pause persuasion, diagnose uncertainty, and then co-create um, risk removal steps.
Yeah.
Persuasion is the old way. Certainty is a new closer.
Right.
We have to realize that. Certainty is a new closer. Like I said, with my dates, if I give them a certainty, then I get a second date. If they feel safe, I know it's a bad illustration, but there's a dynamic there in relationship. You're creating this relationship to make them feel safe, to make them feel validated, to make them feel that there is evidence that you're providing, aside from being persuasive, because it feels a little car salesy. I don't
Yeah.
mean to put that profession down, but there's there's a lot of uncertainty when there's persuasion or too many persuasive tactics.
Right. Absolutely. Great points. So curious to know, how do elite revenue organizations help buyers internally align across stakeholders, risks, and resistors before asking for a final decision?
So yeah, they treat internal alignment as part of the sales process, not the buyer's problem. So one of the top performing tactics I would say is early stakeholder mapping. You have to identify the champion, the economic buyers and the blockers, and they tailor value messaging per role. It's funny, when I was with Hewlett Packard, and one of the things that we sold were large format printers, and we were selling it to multiple industries. One in particular that made me really interested is they change. This is, if you remember, print on demand. This is before digital age, right? Print on demand.
Yes.
Yeah. They said we were supposed to reduce paper. Wow, we use so much more paper at that time. So they were printing depending on who the demographics were at a particular time. So they knew based on their data from their receipts, they knew what to print out to run specials. Merchandising are experts at this. Every time I go to Costco, I have planned maybe 2 or 3 items. I get out of there with 20 items
Yeah,
every time.
right.
So I think mapping the way they map their champions, their economic buyers, their anything that they do, they really understand the buyer and they cater to that. And that's what the elite tactics do. They understand who the stakeholders are and they map and tailor the value messaging according to the role. And they arm their champions with internal selling tools like ROI calculators or objection handlers, one pagers. And some of that is old school, but still they're extremely helpful tools. And I think one of the things that has helped me is facilitate joint sessions like executive briefings, quarterly reviews, risk workshops, which really does surface resistors openly. And this is a great way to have these dialogues with your buyers because then you're addressing it right there and then. And it helps close some of the issues that you may face later on. And of course, one of the things that's really helpful is I use mutual action plans that include internal milestones like finance reviews by date X. These are true partnership roles with your buyers. You're not just there scheduling presentations and giving them collateral and then expect to close. You're really partnering with them on this particular issue that they're facing. And here's the value that you're bringing, and you're mapping this out properly with them. And then, of course, provide consensus builders like peer references and proof of concept data. So really, data and deals move faster because buyer committees, they're all pre-aligned. That's what you want to do. There's no last minute surprises. And overall, the structure of this becomes extremely profitable for the conversation. There's benefits for both sides.
Right. Absolutely. No doubt. We love with our clients, we do financial models, right?
Mhm.
And
Yep.
benefits. And we're addressing it, in the meeting, the value, but we're also talking about normally this is what IT looks for, compliance looks for this. They want this, maintenance, or if wants this, etc. And here's how we help them. When you
Yeah.
have a solution where they're feeling like you're an advisor and you're there to help the organization, not just sales or not just service or whatever, then you become more of a trusted partner with them than just, oh, yeah, he works in sales. Go talk to the sales department. No, no, they're here to help the company, right?
Hmm.
Move forward. So that really helps a lot when you bring that in. The stakeholders, the risks, the resistors. You bring it in. You say how we help everyone move forward, and that really really helps. And item six. At the executive level, what does clarity actually look like in a sales conversation? And why do the clearest sellers consistently outperform the most charismatic ones?
One at the executive clarity means the buyer walks away knowing exactly the quantified business problem or outcome and how my solution delivers it with proof and evidence, right?
Right.
And the risk and how they've handled it. The next step and timeline, there's no ambiguity. It's got to be clear. It's got to be clear. It looks like crisp summaries, really, to confirm you're solving X pain for Y ROI
Hmm.
with Z risk mitigated by such and such date. So there's a mutual action plan and zero open loops. Zero open loops. Charisma wins initial interest, I believe. Um, but clarity wins decisions. Charismatic
Right.
sellers, to me, uh, they charm, but they can confuse. Clear ones build trust and momentum. In committee buys, um, clarity is contagious, and the executives repeat it internally.
Absolutely. I think about all the people I've worked with in roles of sales leadership and, the different ones and the ones that had closed amazing amounts of business were the ones where the executive team was asking them things like, hey, how do we do this? How do we move forward? Right. And they're just giving them clear, like, here's the framework,
But
here's the steps, here's the outcomes. And they're like, oh, that gives them that confidence to move forward. It's not, the tallest person or the best haircut or whatever else. It really does come down to clarity and confidence. It really does. It
yeah,
really
yeah,
does. So the most elite salespeople out there are delivering clear value, clear move forward plan, and clear outcomes. And those are the ones that win.
yeah, yeah. And these frameworks have helped teams I've coached hit consistent high close rates in tough markets.
Yeah.
And in today's buyers, it's no longer about persuasions or particular features and functionality. They definitely want value and evidence of it.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thanks again for coming on with me, Louie. I really appreciate your advice and your insights. So thanks for that.
My pleasure is all mine.
And there'll be more topics on this to come in terms of reducing close cycles, improving close rates, and all of those things. You can get a PDF overview of the book. There's a boot camp we've recently announced as well, a
Yep.
4-week boot camp. So just feel free to reach out to us if we can be of help in some way to you. And we'd love to help you shorten your sales cycles, improve your close rates, and move forward. So that'll do it for this edition. Thanks for listening or watching, everybody, and we will see you again on the next one. Take care.
Take care.